And I guess at the age of 10, I sat there at the table with my face on the table watching a gentleman by the name of Adolf Treble play the zither, and I wouldn't stop watching. And every time that we got together, he would play, and I was staring at it. So my parents clued in, and I came home, and we had a zither in hand, and a gentleman from my group by the name of Rolly Brown, he was my teacher. He played zither also, of course, and taught me. We had a little trio going, and at the age of 12, I performed on a big stage at Germanfest in Milwaukee, downtown on the lakefront, and I earned $75. I just great back when we were 12 years old. So we played off and on. I played a lot just for our club dances and so forth, and played for our Christmas parties and Christmas songs and everything. I'm not a virtuoso by any means at all. I play and I have fun with it. The last couple of years I haven't played, and I silly forgot most of my music at home, so I don't really memorize my music very well, so I have to read off of music, but we'll have some fun today. I wasn't thinking that I would actually play, I was thinking about I would teach you about the zither. So we did a little history searching and learned a little bit more about the zither and where it comes from, and actually it comes from a Greek word that's called Zithara or Kithara. You can see different pronunciations of it. And it actually kind of referred to just about every stringed instrument and how it developed over time. And they found the first one dating back to 433 BC. And it was actually a version of it that they found in the grave site of one of the emperors in Japan, I believe. And so it has its different variations from all over the world. The ones that you see now, they were developed in the 1800s, 1800s, and it was actually Johann Strauss who wrote that, what is it called, In the Vienna Woods or something? I gotta look it up. I don't even know all this stuff. S.V.E.V, that's right. I can't read this over here. Dance in the Vienna Woods, thank you. Vienna Woods. Tales of Vienna. See, I read it a couple of times. But anyway, Maximilian from Bavaria fell in love with the zither playing, and he absolutely needed to learn how to play it. And it was Potsmeyer who actually taught him, and he became the royal zither player, and he and the Duke traveled around, and the Duke wanted to learn how to play, and they traveled around and made performances together through Europe and in Asia. So it dates back, and once it hit the royalty, it really became very popular in all the salons, you know, and the bourgeois homes and everything, and the aristocracy, and that's how it really came about to be more popular within Europe. And I have a whole little history here, too, of how it came to the United States. It's very interesting. I'm going to read some of this. The zither went through two periods of great popularity in the United States. The first of these was in the late 19th century through early 20th century, when it was greatly in vogue as a parlor instrument in many homes. During that period, a number of U.S.-based instrument manufacturers, many of them founded by or staffed with European, mostly German and Austrian luthiers, were producing concert zithers. Chord zithers were often marketed under confusing brand names like guitar zither or mandolin zither. The recently rediscovered recordings of the gospel singer Washington Phillips used the two instruments simultaneously and revealed the virtuosic capability of the chord zither to modern musicians seeking to revive it. By the 1920s, the popularity had begun to wane as other instruments, notably the guitar, increased in popularity along with the new fashion for jazz music. So it's really interesting. At one point in time, they have this, I don't need new glasses, seriously. The Hornbostel Sox system, an academic instrument classification method, uses the term zither to classify all stringed instruments The sounding boxes is just hollow, and it's meant to help resonate. And so they actually classified all guitars and pianos and harpsichords into the same classification under the term Zither. So it was very interesting that it was actually a broad name for all of these different instruments. They were stringed instruments that they were either plucked or they were hammered, like a hammered dulcimer is. They were all wrapped up into the same name under a general description of the kind of instrument. So it's not really clear as to when this instrument became just known as the Zither and that bigger classification fell away. But at one point in time, they were all called Zithers. And you'll find different variations of them all through history and all through the world. So there really isn't any place that you can say that it actually started there and moved on. It was during the 19th century that they invented the circle of fifths, and that a gentleman by the name of Weigel, he actually designed what we have today now as the concert zither, and that is all of the strings with the fretboard. Earlier versions were just a couple of strings, maybe 4 or 5 strings at the most, and it's very different in how they were sounding and how they were played. Back here in the hall, the very last box up on the wall on the right-hand side, you'll see what is called a chord zither. And I know that Hannah has one at home because I've tinked around on it at her house. But there's no fretboard, it's just strings, and there aren't anywhere near as many strings on it like this one is. And that was a chord zither. This is a concert zither. And also back there, I believe on the right-hand side, is a zither that has a handle. And the handle would be here, along with the strings there. That one is actually the alpine zither. So the different classifications of how they looked is what made them call different things. So you can see that the chord zither was more of a zither designed before the actual one came out. And this is the one that you will find most of the music for. It's interchangeable as far as how they sound between the concert zither and the alpine zither. With the handle or no handle doesn't make a difference. The music that we find as far as folks music, etc., are interchangeable on both instruments. It'll sound exactly the same. So I actually wanted to invite people to actually learn how to do this and how to play, and didn't want to make the whole talk a whole lot longer, just give you a basic idea about the zither. But I brought some basics here as far as how to learn how to play, if there's anybody interested. And I brought one zither along that is actually going to find a happy home at Fritz's house in San Francisco, so I'm very happy about that. When I was clearing out my attic and finding the zithers, we discovered that we have 8 of them.
Wow.
And I realized I can't play all 8 of them, nor do I want to. So I kept the one that I usually play, which is an alpine zither. I have another one that is an alpine zither that is a bigger, rounder. It's very, very round, and that's called a harfen zither. It has a different sound to it, and every zither is going to have a little bit of different sound based on the wood and the sound box that's there. And then I have another one that is very close to this as a concert zither, and I found out that my great aunt played with Rudy Knobel live on the radio in Munich. She lived in Munich, and she was one of the zither players through the 1950s that played on the radio. So being the only one in my family that plays, the family decided that I should have that zither, and that's the other one that I have at home. So it's beautiful. There are just so many different styles of zithers and inlays that you can find.
Okay, let me check.
I wanted to show you this one that I brought along. You can see that it has 8